I'm going to start this by saying this is the catch-up video for Hack Club Summer Camp Day 1, if you missed Day 1. This is prefaced by the video about how the World Wide Web works, which is going to be in the link in the description. And this is about making your own website in HTML and CSS. If you haven't heard of this before and you just found this on the internet, this is part of Hack Club Summer Camp, which is running from June 29th to July 16th, 2026, online for teenagers on weekdays on Zoom from 12 to 3 Eastern, where teenagers can learn how to make websites, make games, make hardware projects live with workshops with us, followed by getting prizes such as Minecraft, domains, hosting credits, hardware, things like that. So if you need to at any time, feel free to pause the video so you can catch up. But the first thing you'll need is you'll need a GitHub account. So you can either go to github.com or look up GitHub on Google and go to this one and make sure you have an account made. The next step is to make a repository. So I'm going to do that here. All right, so you're going to want to make sure that the owner is you. You can set your repository name to whatever you want. I named it Jen and Summer Camp site, and I wrote my personal site for Summer Camp. Make sure your repository is public. This is very important. If you don't have a public repository, we won't be able to access your project and to give you your prizes. And make sure add README is on, because this allows you to make a GitHub code space. So the next step is to create the repository. And then once you have your repository and it looks like this, you can click Code and Code Spaces and press Create Code Space on Me. All right, after a bit, you should be in this menu. You can close the AI chatbot on the side, and we're going to start making your file. So you're going to want to go here. There's going to be a Create File button, and you're going to want to make a file called index.html. Index.html is always the main page of your website. So if you have nothing after the slash in your URL, it'll always redirect to your index.html. And again, this HTML is a file ending like .pdf or .png. It lets your computer know what it is and how to interpret it. So now that you have this, we're going to have some starter code in here. I'm going to write some, and then you can get the starter code in the description, or you can just copy what I'm typing on here. So we're going to write this, if it'll let me write. Please hold for a sec. All right, I've zoomed everything in for you guys, and I put in the starter code, which will be in the link in the description, and I'm going to go over what this means. So these are called tags, all right? And it consists of an opening and a closing. The HTML one is an example. This means this is the beginning of the HTML tag as the ending of the HTML tag, and everything in between is part of that tag. Likewise, everything in between is part of the head, which is the stuff you don't see on the screen, such as the favicon or the icon on top of your page, or the title of your page, or things like that. And this is the body, so anything inside of here is the inside of the body. And this is stuff that you see on the page, like text, images, and so forth. So again, the doctype HTML tells the browser what version we're expecting. HTML here just says it's the most up-to-date one, which is HTML5, but sometimes it updates, so that's why it's important to have this, so the browser knows this is the most up-to-date HTML that we want to use. So now you have your starting environment. Now let's preview what we have so far. You're going to want to go to extensions, extensions over here, and look for live preview. And then once you have live preview, you can click here, install, and you have the live preview extension installed. It might take a second. Sometimes there's going to be some issues where we have to refresh, so I'm going to refresh GitHub Codespaces just in case by pressing Control or Command R. Here we are. So now that we're here, what you can do is you can right click and, there's a button here that has a preview. It says preview on it. You can click on the preview button. And here are, since your application is running on port 2000 and it is available. And you can open in browser if you want to have it on another tab. But as you can see, this is your website so far. It's completely blank. And that's because we have no content in the head and no content in the body for this to go off of. So now we're going to add stuff. First thing we're going to do is we're going to add text. So as I said already, everything is in the form of tags. So tags is like the words in the language. It says this is what's inside the body. So we can do the same thing for text. There's different ones you can do. So for example, you can add a heading, and that would be by doing an H1 tag, and you'll see it automatically just the ending, and you can write hello. And H stands for heading. There's different ones. It goes all the way from H1 to being the highest to H6 being the lowest. And these are all different types of headings. You can also do a paragraph, which is P, like this. And everything inside of here is just a normal paragraph. And again, just remember that you always have an opening tag and a closing tag for everything. So now if I go to the preview and we refresh the page, you'll see you have your heading and you'll have your text. Voila! This is technically now your website. You've made your own website. Now, the next step is after you do any significant change, you have to commit your changes to GitHub. Again, what's going on is GitHub's called source control software, and here is where your code will be stored. This code space is just a place for you to write code, but it doesn't automatically sync to your GitHub. You just do that yourself via what's called commits. So you can go to this source control button in your code space, and press the commit button, and you can write what you did. So you press yes, and then in this commit edit message file, in this line, you can write what you did. So I'm going to say, I added an index.html file with some text. And then you can close the file. Once you close the file, a sync changes button will show here. You press the sync changes button and you press OK. And that means now you have synced your changes from this code space to GitHub. And if you go to GitHub here, you'll see that you now have your index.html file showing what change you did with all your code. Now, after every change you do, whenever you're coding, make sure to commit, because for whatever reason, if your code space is lost, or if you start using an IDE, which is like a code space on your computer, if that gets lost, you're in trouble. Which is why it's very, very important to make sure you always have your code committed after every change. So now we have headings, and now we have paragraphs, and now our website looks like this. In my opinion, it looks a little bland. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add a photo. I'm going to add a photo of a dog. We're going to go here and we're going to look for a photo of a dog on Google. And you can find whatever you want. I'm going to choose this one. Now what you can do is, instead of right-clicking, pressing copy image, what we're going to do is we're going to copy the image link. This is the URL that your computer or your device will be able to see and translate that to the image, rather than the whole image being copied to your clipboard. So now what we can do is we can go to your IDE again, your code space, and we can add the image in here using a special type of syntax. And this one looks a little bit like this. Oh. Oh dear. There we go. So this is essentially what your image would look like. You're going to have open bracket img source equals your link, and you have a close. But you might be wondering, wait, but this doesn't have an open tag and a close tag. This is just one tag. That's because there's nothing else inside the image. It's just the image itself. For heading, it has the hello inside the image, inside the heading. Here, it has this text inside of the paragraph tags. But the image is just an image, nothing else inside the image. So that's what we call a ghost tag, or sometimes it's also called a void tag. And inside of the void tag here, you're going to see that, oh dear, it's a singular tag, and that has the image. This also goes for a few other things, including links and other stuff. We're going to show those in this video and the next video about CSS. So yeah, now if we go back here, we go to your website, and we refresh the page, now you have a working HTML site with a heading, some text, and an image. So now you've done the basic part, which is HTML. You have all your content. HTML is basically just text, images, and similar things. But it doesn't look good. It's just black on white, and everything's all to the left, and it kind of looks ugly. So the next part is making CSS, which is what makes your image colorful. So now that we have an index.html file, the next step is making a CSS file. And CSS actually works in its own file ending in .css. So you would call this style.css. And this tells the computer that this is in fact the file that will have your CSS in it. The only thing is this doesn't apply automatically. You have to tag it in HTML. Again, we said the body is the part that has all the content and the head is stuff you don't see. So up in the head, you're going to say, I need this style sheet to be used. And the way you do that is by putting in something like this. Again, all the starter code is going to be in the description if you need it, or it'll be on the summer camp dashboard if you're in summer camp. Here we are. Basically what this is saying is, again, it's a void tag because it's singular tag as it's a link. And it's saying that the relation for this link is it's a style sheet, and the location of this link is style.css. So now what this is doing is it's telling HTML to follow the rules in style.css. CSS is essentially all rules. So for example, what we can do is we can add a part in CSS about, I don't know, we can add a part about our image, for example, because on some screens, our image might look bigger than the text like this. You know, on some, it might shrink. It depends. So what we can do is we can adjust this by having a set size, or we can adjust the size of the image. So again, everything works in rules in CSS. So the way it would work would be like, this is the rule for an image, img, and you have your squiggly brackets like that. And then you can set rules inside this, and inside this bracket will have all the rules for images. And anytime you have an image in a file that calls this CSS file, it'll follow these rules. So you can use width, 200 pixels, semicolon. You always have to end in semicolon. As it's saying, for all images, the width must be 200 pixels. So if I go back to my page here and I refresh, you'll see that the width of the image is now 200 pixels. And you can adjust this. I'm going to keep it at this because it lines up with my text and it looks pretty good. So that's how to do it for images. And then you can also do it for other things. For example, text. So again, as we said, if we go back to our HTML here, we have in the head and we have in the body. Again, the body is all the context. So we can also apply rules to the body. So we can do that here by writing body. And then I'm going to make everything, I'm going to move everything to the center of the screen because right now it's all on the side and it doesn't look good in my opinion. So I'm going to write text dash align center semicolon. And what this does is it tells the computer that all text and all stuff have to be aligned to the center if it's in the body and that file is calling the CSS file. So now if we go back here, you'll see that everything is in fact centered, just like so. And that's essentially how you do CSS. You can also add other things. You can add fonts. You can like font dash family colon. Right now it's in Times New Roman. You can choose any of these fonts that are available here, plus more. I'm going to choose Arial, and you just do it like so. Actually, wait, make sure that it is in quotes as well. Arial, like so. And now if we go back again, the font's going to be in Arial now. This works for all fonts that are in Google Fonts. For the most part, most browsers use Google fonts, but then you can also import other fonts. If you need any help with that, you can always reach out, send a message in the comments. But if you look up online how to use custom fonts in HTML or in CSS, there's instructions on that. You can also adjust the background color. So you can say background, I'm going to make it blue. And then I'm going to make the text color white. So now if we go back here, you're going to see the background will be blue and the text is going to be white. And that's how CSS works. It applies all those rules. So yeah, so that's how you make your simple website. All you need to do is you need to have content on your site, CSS styling your site. And congratulations, if you've gone this far, you've made your own website. And if you're part of summer camp, you can now ship this and get your free stickers and points. The only thing is, this has to be your own unique page. You can't just copy the same code I did here, although it will be public. You will have to have your own text, your own image. It'll have to be yours. Everything will have to be completely yours. So yeah, once you've done this, the next step is you have to, again, commit it to GitHub by going here, pressing commit, and then typing your message and say, I added CSS and an image. And then again, you would sync your changes by pushing to GitHub. Now all your code should be here on GitHub. You'll see that your message will show here as the last change, and your index.html and your style.css will be here. The next step is getting this hosted. If you saw my past video, you'll see that, again, we need a server for this to run on so that your browser can reach that server and ask for the content of this. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to settings, and GitHub actually offers a service called GitHub Pages where you can host your website on their server for completely free really quickly. All you got to do is you got to go to settings, you got to go to pages, and here where it says branch, you just click main and save. And what this is doing is it's setting up GitHub Pages for your website. So then you just got to wait about a minute or a minute and a half and then refresh the page, and then the link will show up. So I'll cut to that. And yeah, after a minute so, you can refresh the page and you'll see your site is live at this link. And now this link has your website that you made, and it's completely yours. Anyone can use this link to access your website. I'll put my link in the description if you want to view my website. And congratulations, you now have your own website using HTML and CSS. Hey, if you're a teenager and you're interested in learning more about web dev, game dev, and hardware, for the next 3 weeks as of this video is posted, we're running an online summer camp where you can learn to code via live workshops with me and a few others. And we'll teach you things like HTML, CSS, web dev, game dev, hardware, Minecraft modding, things like that. And it's completely free, and you get really cool prizes once you make projects. And if you're seeing this after these 3 weeks, we're part of a nonprofit called Hack Club. This is actually their office. And you can go to the link in the description, see what programs have available. We run tons of programs. We're with AMD, NASA, GitHub, all these companies to give you guys amazing prizes and teaching you guys how to code. So please check the link in the description. Take a look at Hack Club if you're a teenager between 13 and 18 years old. And thank you for watching. Have a good day.